Afternoon, I'm Derek, here to showcase my animation system. Now, as you can see, I've got my game engine working right now, and if we press F1 to F6, you'll notice that everything that I have done last quarter as well as earlier this quarter works just fine. Now, if we press F7, we shall get my animation working here. What I have here is the Dude FBX model doing its little walking animation. I decided to go this route instead of doing the humanoid model, mostly because the humanoid model does not have any set bind poses that I can just pull from the converter, while the Dude FBX model does. Unfortunately, I just couldn't wrap my head around how to use the first keyframe to figure out what the first bind pose is supposed to be. So I decided to go with the Dude model instead. So I had to go into my converter and add in Professor Keenan's little fixes to print out the hierarchy as well as the keyframe data. I also had to add in some fixes of my own to grab the bind poses, so they were printed out in the proper format. And then from there, I just copied and pasted into my engine and hit run. Unfortunately, once I hit run, I noticed only about 5 of the 58 bones were showing, so I ended up having to figure out what was going on. It turns out that the little fix that Professor Keenan used to grab the keyframe data for the humanoid model doesn't quite work for the Dude model for some reason. There's a little check in there asking whether or not there's an animation curve at a particular bone at a particular time, and it was coming up false, which was telling the code to go ahead and just print out a 0 translation vector and a 0 rotation as well, which is completely wrong because, as you can see, there's definitely animation going on here. So I ended up just commenting that section of code out, and lo and behold, it spat out the right keyframe data. So once I have that, I just copied that into my engine and ran it again, and then noticed that everything that you see here was working with the exception of the arms. So I was going in the right direction, but it took me a good while to debug why that was happening now, and it turns out there was something wrong with my slurp function. As it turns out, I was missing a couple of cases. They were kind of rare, but they were happening nevertheless. The first was being when a particular bone, if its rotation from one keyframe to the next keyframe happened to be the same thing, it ultimately left or caused a phi value of 0 to occur, which caused my slurp equation to have a division by 0. So it was spitting out a bunch of undefines. So I ended up having to put in a special case where if phi happens to be 0, the resultant quaternion would be just a 0 quaternion instead of an undefined. That got most of my errors fixed, but then I also noticed that there was a weird case where sometimes instead of a phi value of 1.0 being, or excuse me, a temporary value that leads to my phi value, sometimes it would be just a little over 1.0 as opposed to just 1.0 itself. So it would be something like 1.00001, something along those lines. So then once I tried to calculate phi by using the cosine function, it just blow up and give me an undefined. So I ended up fixing that by doing a quick little hot fix where if the value was just a smidgen above 1.0, I would just set it back to 1.0. Once I got that, all my undefines that were being spat out by my slurp function were completely eradicated, and we've got a model that we showcased right here. And as you can see, it can also rotate around it in both directions. So yeah, there's 58 bones here, and they're all animating. And once I got this working, I was pretty darn happy. So that is my animation system right now. During the summer, I do intend to figure out how to automate this instead of doing just a quick little copy and paste from the converter. But that can wait for a couple of weeks. Anywho, thanks for listening, and you have a good day.